new development happening on a property, a redevelopment happening on a property. If you notice it on page 39, subsection A, scope, all parking lots designed for 20 or more parking spaces
Okay.
shall be landscaped in accordance with the provisions of this. So again, if there's a a new development, a redevelopment in which the parking lot is being modified because of the building placement, because of what have you, that 20 or more spaces are being impacted, we would want them to do this landscaping requirement.
Okay. And staff is comfortable with that? That's enough information for you to make determinations on when that happens without coming to council? I mean, this is not too vague for staff to move forward without
No.
direction? Okay, great. All right, anybody have anything yet? Okay. Actually, that does it for all I had for chapter 6. I'm going as fast as I can, guys. Mr. Mayor.
657, this may be a little more controversial. Was it a year or 2 years ago, we had the council chambers was packed when we did the RV business truck in the residential areas? This ordinance doesn't seem to agree with what we did just a year or 2 ago. Specifically, you're not allowing like the plumber to park his truck in his driveway overnight. Specifically, you can only have one truck or one RV or one boat. We said the opposite when we adopted this a year ago.
I'll have to double check that. I thought we took the language word for word.
That was more.
Provided that no such vehicle shall be parked more than 10 hours or under no circumstances shall be parked overnight.
Eugene?
Mayor, I agree that should have been in there because some of these guys bring their trucks home.
Sure,
24-hour
absolutely.
service, so I thought we did that.
They have the right to make a living, I think. I don't think we disagree with that.
Because I know our company guy lives in town here and he's got to bring the fuel truck home. So I thought we did.
So you may want to review the old
review it,
ordinance,
but I
well, not that old, that we just did.
If I recall the discussion on this section and that, if it's specified by the number and type of commercial vehicle down here, this would be vehicles that are above and beyond. So we'll double check that language. So somebody who is having work done and they need to bring in the 6-wheel dump truck to do the landscaping work, they can bring that in for a 10-hour time period. We'll double check the language on that and make sure that we are correct with that.
Can I have a consensus from the council to request that staff make us copies of that particular ordinance so we can review it for ourselves too? And not saying I don't trust staff to check it, but I think that it's a darn good question and we should all review it exactly what we did last year anyway. Okay. Nobody objects, so staff. All right, Alderman Coles?
It also I thought we figured by the type of plate that the truck has, the commercial vehicle of plate, if it has a D plate or it has a B plate or a C plate, that makes a difference about on a commercial truck. The D is a bigger truck than B plates.
Correct.
That's
do have that in
that's
there.
in the ordinance on 57 on section 3, the size of the plates and the height.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had decided on that.
Yeah, that was definitely in there, Alderman Coles, but I haven't looked at that ordinance since we passed it, so I think we should be refreshed on it.
Okay, good idea.
It is on there.
Anything else on chapter 6? Okay, we'll move to chapter 7. Page 7-9. Standards and specifications for required public improvements. Section A, stormwater management facility standards and specifications. While number 1 says that the stormwater drainage systems shall be designed in accordance with the city municipal code, does everybody up here feel that that is adequate, that we just referenced the other code, or should we copy that code into here? Typically, I wouldn't suggest that we be redundant like that, but this is always such a high point of contention. I wonder if it should be in here without making somebody reference another document.
Yes, currently, I mean, what ordinance, or what this refers to is the stormwater management ordinance, which is currently Chapter 25 in our existing zoning ordinance. So there was discussion back and forth whether or not we should actually leave the stormwater management ordinance in the UDO or have it again as a separate standalone document that's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. To me, it depends what you as the council would prefer to do. We have no issue with either way.
Personally, it's a UDO because it's a Unified Development Ordinance. We tried to make it one-stop shopping. Everything you could need to know is in here. That's why I'm in favor of making it that much longer by putting this in here as well. But I'd like to see if anybody objects to that before we ask staff to do that. Okay, I think we'd like to see it in there then. Anybody have anything on Chapter 7 up to this point? Because I think I'm jumping all the way to 714 now. Mr. Mayor?
Just a general discussion, if I can, on 7:1 through 5. The whole concept of requiring developers to make contributions to parks and schools, which is a good thing in and of itself. But I remind the council, frequently we negotiate with developers where they make a contribution to the city instead, such as $350,000 for the train station, or years ago, I think they made one developer buy a fire truck for the city. Well, I guess that'd be the fire district. But we've kind of negotiated that on a case-by-case basis, and it seems to me if the money is going to the parks or schools, you eliminate the possibility of negotiating something for the city. So it's Phyllis, it's your decision, which way you want to go, philosophy. If you want to put that in the ordinance here and have that as a guarantee going to parks and schools, or you want to leave it open and negotiate case by case.
I think the mayor's right. I'd like to review this again, but I think case by case has worked pretty well. Can staff enlighten us as to how we got to this point? In my case, you might just have to remind me.
The method, or the methodology behind this, or the thought process behind this is that, again, this is the one-stop document for developers when they come in. If we put in there that land donations or donations to taxing bodies and that will be negotiated on a case-by-case basis, they all of a sudden don't know what their costs are going to be, and it may make them more reluctant to do a project. The thought process is, again, to streamline everything so everybody knows what it's going to be up front when they come in, when they walk through the door.
Okay, I still think I side with the mayor on this one. Alderman Coles had his hand up first, and Alderman Lewitton. Is it, unless it's on the same subject for Alderman Lewitton and not for Alderman Coles?
Well, let Mr. Lewitton go first.
Okay.
It's very short. All I want to say is that philosophically, I agree with the mayor and not with Clicker on this one.
Alderman Coles.
I'd go by, if the project is going to be for population, then you'd have to figure something for the school district and a park district. If it was going to be for a factory, then no. That would just be for the city. That's as far as what I would go by. Now, maybe you could put that in there too. If you're going to have 100 people coming in and 50 kids going to school, then you have to do something to the school system in order to help it. And the park district would get, and the library and all that stuff would have to get a little donation too. So that's my theory.
So you think that should be specifically written rather than on a case-by-case where we hope that the council at the time thinks about that and
I'd say it
involves the
should be,
school
it
district?
should be in there, in an ordinance, in this ordinance on this chapter 7-1. Depends. If you have 100 people coming in as population, you're going to have kids, and that's going to boost the school up.
In an effort to give staff clear direction so we can keep moving, I'd like to take a consensus vote on this. All who agree with Alderman Coles, so staff knows how to move forward, speak out or say aye.
I have a
Those who,
question.
okay, question on the subject at Alderman Eugene Wesley, then Alderman Police.
It hasn't been in the past when we develop, when we negotiate with a developer, that it's always been the city recommendation if we choose to give to the park district or library or, and all that. Hasn't that been in the past that we went that route?
Thank you. I think we've always been mindful of the park districts and the schools. I think when Woodside came in, I think we did like a $25,000 or $50,000 cash contribution.
Right, so why don't
It's
we-
always been case by case. I think if it's a residential development coming in, I don't recall if we did that in Pulte or not. We'd be mindful of schools.
we did.
But if it's a new hotel, $120 million, 22-story hotel, maybe we want to
But I understand.
negotiate something
So
more for
that's
the
why I'm
city, which doesn't necessarily have an impact on the schools.
But that's why I'm saying it should be a case-to-case basis.
That's
Therefore, we
what
can
I'm
make our
recommending.
decision to, if we choose, if it's going to impact the school, now, then
I
we
would
should.
trust the
And
city
I
council,
agree.
whether it's us or a
Right.
future council, will be respectful of the parks and schools as much as we can.
Alderman, please.
The bottom line, I was just gonna bring up, the Thorndale corridor could have a couple hotels, couple office buildings. Number one, taxes are gonna go up over there just because of the building. Fire district's gonna get some extra, park's gonna get some extra. But the city's gonna have to take care of that treatment plant for that extra. You know, those guys are gonna come in, I thought the cap was at 13 stories. Saying 22, I mean, that's But you know the developers are gonna come in, they're gonna have those numbers, and, you know, it's gonna be up to the city to negotiate. Let's face it, we're gonna have to put in that new treatment plant, depending on what size or whatever. It'll be better to impact over there than impact the residents.
Just to clarify.
Yeah, Mr.
This
Clicker.
section, all of 17701, it's all based on the residential impact of the parcel. So again, if the parcel is industrial, if the parcel is office, there's no residential impact on that parcel. This would not be applicable to them.
Alderman Lewitton?
Yeah, but you can have mixed usage. And then what do you do when you have an office building with residential on the top floor? I still favor what the mayor said ideologically.
Yeah, I think that's the consensus here. So, while Alderman Coles presented a compelling argument, and some part of me agrees with it, I think that I'm feeling this way too.
To each his own.
Thank you, sir. Page 712, actually, 713, sorry. Talking about required streets. Number 6, private streets are not allowed, but the city council may permit private streets if certain criteria are satisfied. Wow, how vague is that? I've never been a fan of private roads. I'd love to see in here that there are no private streets that serve more than one building, one residence, so be it. I'll entertain what the comments or concerns any of the other aldermen have, but this is really vague and allows a lot of undersized, under-designed roads to be put in that someday inevitably the city of Wooddale will probably get stuck maintaining. Alderman Eugene Wesley?
I'm against that. As far as I'm concerned, there shouldn't be another private road put in this city at all, because simple reason, we ran into a problem with, private streets. We end up eating them anyways. We plow them already. It needs to stop. I mean, we repair them, we turn them, they turn them over to us. I mean, private streets should not even be in here at all, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, because we only end up maintaining them anyways. So how does it make it private? We still own them because we do the work on them.
We can retailer this any way you want to direct us. I mean, the sentence reads, private streets are not allowed, but the city council may permit if certain criteria. I mean, that, we can either slam the door shut tight or close the door and leave it open a little bit
My
and let the
opinion,
council decide.
my opinion, close the door tight.
Mr. Clicker?
If you'll, for those that were in attendance on the March 20th meeting, we did have a large discussion regarding this pertaining to PUD developments. The general consensus was that the developer can ask for whatever they want. The council, of course, has the right to say no. So I think that's where this is, the language is left, I'll say loose for that reason, in that in a PUD development, if a developer were to come in with a compelling reason in a PUD, there may be a case in the future where a private road may be plausible. But if you wish to change it that just private roads will not be allowed, it may impact the ability of a developer to do a PUD in the future, but we'd be agreeable to that.
I see your point, but I'm trying to remember how a particular case went down, 3-home subdivision on Wooddale Road that never got built. But I don't think that was a PUD. That was simply a rezoning or a replatting. And the way I remember it, that developer proposed, and the council at the time, I thought, approved a road that was not up to our width standards. So the way this is written, it allows it in places other than PUDs, I think, and that's what has me concerned. Mr. Mayor, you had your hand up?
Oh, I think that would be a great qualification, accept and approve PUDs. I think we do have several PUDs in town where these roads are still private, such as behind the train station, Pete Vertico's development there. Harry, what's the other guy's development? Cary Townhomes, I think, is private as well. There are numerous private streets, but only in a PUD, not in a residential, as the chairman is suggesting.
Alderman Wesley?
Let me ask you a question, maybe clarify it. A private street, in our code, the way I look at a private street, we shouldn't be plowing them or anything. Okay? We shouldn't be plowing them at all. Okay, private streets, we shouldn't have nothing, we should not even doing resurfacing, repairing them at all. But we do that. As a council, we approve redoing private streets. So Mayor, I understand your point, even in the PUD,
No, we should not be plowing or maintaining street in a PUD.
but we do now.
We do in Elizabeth Park, but other PUDs, it's totally the association liability. and
We don't do the
responsibility.
Cary Townhouse?
To my knowledge, we do not.
No,
Privately plowed.
no.
I'm just saying, but what happens when that road deteriorates? It's gonna be our responsibility?
Alderman Coles?
I went through Cary, and the woman stopped me, and she says, I don't live on that street, and I can't go through it. I told her I was the alderman, and she says, I don't care. She says, that's a private street, and I'm head of the homeowners association.
Well, then, if for no other reason, we should have no private streets so Alderman Coles can go wherever he wants.
Well, I make a run of my ward to see if anybody is building anything on Saturdays and Sundays. And if everybody else did that, you would catch a lot of people. And I do catch a lot of people. So
Well-
everybody should do that. All the aldermen should do that. It won't hurt you to take half-hour driving through your ward to catch people.
I see what you're saying, but I agree with Alderman Eugene Wesley that even in a PUD, I don't particularly like them. I mean, we could be maintaining them, or they might not design them to typical standards, and I guess there's pros and cons, but I've always been leery of them, so I'm against them. So there's, I think, 2 against, once again, in favor of giving staff direction. I'd like to take a consensus on this. Alderman Shockey, how do you feel? Do you have a strong opinion one way or another? Keep them in, no private roads? Alderman Police?
Slam the door.
Alderman Coles?
Slam it.
All right, we've already got a consensus. If anybody else wants to chime in, you're more than welcome, but I can let the others off the hook if they want to be off the hook. No, come on, we're already over our limit, but we're really close, so if nobody objects, I want to try to finish this. Page 7-14, number 12. I don't know how we got to that. It looks like we don't have a B, we don't have an A, but we have a B and a C, unless I'm missing A. But my question is regarding C. Curb and gutter shall be installed as required in section 17, whatever, on all roadways being dedicated for public use. We are, I think having surveys going around for sidewalks, and I think perhaps this might end up being curb and gutter someday as well. I think this council has made it to the realization that curb and gutter is not appropriate everywhere. I'm concerned that we're mandating these are going to be on all new roads. Once again, case in point, perhaps any new subdivisions that go in around the Wooddale Road area south of Elizabeth, we know it's pretty wet and soggy in there. I'd personally much prefer to see open swales holding as much water as possible rather than confined culverts and curb and gutter. That's only my opinion. Once again, I'd like to ask if there's a consensus from council to strike this or restate this so that we're not forcing ourselves to do this all the time. Alderman Wesley?
My opinion, I think it should be on case-to-case basis, depends where it is in the city.
So in your opinion, the way it's written, where we shall always do it, we might need to reword it and that it will be case by case?
Well, that's the way I'm looking at,
Yeah.
reword it, because some areas don't want it, like you said, but
Right.
some areas do, and I don't want,
Okay. I
Let's
understand.
reword it.
Alderman Coles?
I believe that any street that's being rebuilt should at least have curbs on it, at least curbs. They don't have, if the people vote no sidewalks, fine, but curbs, and then you can also put a swale alongside the curb to take care of the water. But curbs save the edges of the street, and they won't break off, so it'll also save the street a lot long, and it's easier to resurface it, a curb street than it is the street that isn't curbed.
Okay, thank you.
That's my opinion.
Mr. Mayor?
Page 714D,
I think we're still on the curb and gutter. I think Alderman
Okay.
Police still had a comment. I think. Alderman Police?
Yeah, curb, I like the curb and gutter, but some areas, I know Royal Oaks is gonna come up in 2-3 years. They've been complaining about flooding. You know, I'm not sure how that's gonna work if they're gonna want, the more surface we put in, they might have more flooding, we're gonna have to watch that stuff. Over at Edgebrook, I know was flooded today. Question, is permeable concrete, did they make gutter, curbs out of that stuff? No. Just a question.
Other than Alderman Coles, does anybody have a strong objection to looking at this case by case and wording it as such? Alderman Coles, you're the only one I heard that, thinks it should be absolutely everywhere. Alderman Police, I think you're suggesting case by case, I think.
Right.
Nobody else has chimed in, so without any major objection, I will ask staff to present this in another way. Okay.
Give me that if I can hit it with a golf club.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, now,
just to be consistent with the decision you just made, you need to strike D3 on 714 about private streets.
yeah, I have no objection. Anybody else doesn't? Okay. And then my last comment, maybe, two of them on 717, under C roadway standards, pavement width back to back, 28 feet. I think you're just missing the letter B there. You don't have a corresponding letter to your diagram. And on the other side of the page, landscaping standards, street trees required, yes, and shown as H. Would anybody have an objection to some verbiage that states that all street trees shall be shade wherever possible? Meaning if it's not under a power line or otherwise constricting view that would hinder a business sign, that it should be a shade tree in effort to minimize solar heat gain on pavement and help air conditioning costs and so forth. And the bigger the tree, the more water it absorbs out of the ground. Lots of reasons for big trees, in my opinion. Mr. Clicker?
We do reference the approved species list.
You do, but you don't specify when each should be used. I think that ornamentals in the right place are fine. I think shade trees wherever possible are preferred. That's only my opinion. I mean, this needs to be a consensus on this one, so if anybody has a strong opinion one way or another, I'd like to hear it so I know I'm not alone, or at least if there's any strong objections, please state them so staff knows how to move forward.
I don't like all shade trees.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Police?
We're talking about the parkways, right?
Yeah.
When you say shade trees, talking about 60 footers
50, 60 footers where you can trim the
Versus the
branches out
or-
on the bottom.
versus the ornamental,
10 footers.
well, 10, okay, so what I have in
15
front of the
foot.
house is about 18 feet already, but I know
It'll
it's
get
gonna
bigger, yeah.
it's gonna get bigger. Okay, I'm fine.
One serious objection. Okay? That's all I have. Is there anything anybody else has on Chapter 7? I know we ran about 10 minutes over, but I think we got it. No? Question, when will all the changes be back to us? Will we have one, does anybody see a need to have another committee? I mean, well, yeah, probably one more committee with all the changes we've discussed. Any questions you have, you should probably, get back to us in writing, so maybe we don't have to do this like this again.
Correct.
And, a month, less? Okay, 4 weeks?
And don't forget, you said that they should also give us a copy of the approved past ordinance on size, shape, and speed of motorhomes and trucks and everything else that's on.
Commercial vehicles, correct.
Thank you.
Alderman, Police?
Just out of curiosity, how long again was that Lakota off? This is gonna be in a month. Lakota almost
Again, we'll
done.
be having the intent is to have a presentation before you in June. If, depending on that presentation, the comments and that we get back, we theoretically could have a zoning draft ready to go in July.
Oh, I mean, you're right there.
So basically in a month.
Might be right there.
Okay.
Okay, all right, that closes out this portion of the meeting. Items to be discussed or considered at future meetings, as we're talking about the Lakota Group and the Thorndale Corridor Study. Is there anything anybody else would like to ask for at this point to be added? All right, hearing none, I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. We will take a 10-minute recess. Okay.
10 minutes.
I'd like to call the Finance and Administration Committee meeting to order. Let the minute taker reflect that all members are still present. First thing on the agenda, approval of minutes, April 22nd, 2010. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is discussion participation in Bensonville Liberty Fest. Who's taking the lead? The mayor's taking the lead? Okay.
I guess I'm taking the lead on this. This is an idea from, it came from Mayor Soto to save money. He thought it would be a good idea for 3 towns, Elmhurst, Bensonville, and Wooddale, to get together and cooperate as much as possible on some of our public events, with the idea being that Wooddale would take the lead on Memorial Day, that Bensonville would take the lead on July 4th, and that Elmhurst would take the lead on St. Patrick's Day. And all 3 towns would promote each other's events. All 3 would coordinate with each other and providing staff and assistance and promotion where necessary. So I met with him and his chief of staff, and subsequent to that, Jeff met with them as well. I think the intent is a 2-day event consummated in fireworks, but I'll turn it over to Mr. Murmas.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Wooddale staff did have one initial meeting with members of Bensonville staff. They came in, kind of broke down what they were thinking about doing for their fest that they're calling Liberty Fest. I included that in your packet. It's a little bit similar to Prairie Fest. They're going to have food vendors, fireworks, parade, musical entertainment, things like that. They also asked for some some help from the city of Wooddale. 4 things that they asked for in no particular order of importance. They asked for a cash amount of $5,000. They asked for staffing help with crowd control or traffic control, things to that effect. They asked for help with advertising the event, maybe piggybacking on some of our food vendors for Prairie Fest. They also asked for a parking site, a remote parking site in Wooddale to accommodate some of the excess parking that they might have. and possibly have us arrange the shuttle for that remote site as well. There's a little bit of a time constraint with this. July 4th is right around the corner, so they are going to kind of need to know where we're going with this and what type of participation level we want to have as far as sharing resources. So we kind of need some direction in this relatively soon.
Alderman Wesley. Roy.
I guess it's directed to Jeff. Has Bensonville ever gave Wooddale any money for Prairie Fest or for the parade for Memorial Day or helped
They-
out in any which way for,
They did make an offer to help with Prairie Fest, not specifically, monetary wise, but they did offer to help with Prairie Fest, and they are participating in the Memorial Day parade. I don't know if there's any cost sharing involved with that, but they are going to be incorporated into the parade. I don't know if the mayor has any added information on that.
I think Mayor Soto plans on speaking on Memorial Day and participating in the parade along with his village board. We have not made any requests from them for any financial contribution, so they have not offered any.
Continue.
I don't mind helping them out with some staff, but this city has never participated in giving money for another city event except for our own, and is that not true?
Actually, in years past, there was an agreement. At one time, we were going to alternate fireworks displays, and we gave $5,000 to Bensonville previously for their fireworks.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's before my time.
Yes.
Thanks. But I don't mind giving staff, helping out with staffing, but I have a problem of giving finances.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
We have done this in the past when it was at White Pines, that it's been pretty good. The only thing, Mayor, in the statement here, is a beer tent. Did you read that? The beer tent will operate from 3 p.m. until 30 minutes after the conclusion. All proceeds go back to the community organizing, sponsoring this event. Does that mean we're going to get a cutback? Because that's the way I'm reading it here.
It's something I could bring up at one of our next meetings if we decide to participate.
Well, I'm just saying, because if we say we do the joint thing like this, we are actually going to get some money back, because obviously, according to the statement that I'm reading it, unless I'm reading that wrong, we should be getting some money back from this.
I mean, they drafted the document so I can get, some clarity depending on what direction you go tonight.
Mayor, could you answer that question?
I believe that was the Rotary Club is running the beer tent, and they were going to kick back for the volunteers, much like we do with VFW. And if any of our organizations participate, like Knights of Columbus or VFW or American Legion, they will share in a percentage of the profits from the beer tent.
I got a question for you, Jeff. With the staffing, the police, for instance, last year, I think we might have had other officers from other communities, did we, or was it just ours? The chief has already given the answer, it's just our department.
Now, keep in mind that there's a cost associated with some of the staffing that they're requesting, and that's why I had Chief Benowitz state tonight, if you had specific questions about, monetary value on that.
Those are
we could
overtime,
probably
right?
answer those questions.
So the bottom line, myself, I mean, I understand in the past, we gave that monetary because everybody was gonna do fireworks or whatever. But now we have fireworks, Itasca has fireworks, Bensonville has fireworks. I don't feel comfortable spending taxpayer money for Bensonville's fest. Alderman Kadala?
That's all right. Go ahead, Kadam. Go ahead.
I wasn't as convinced as a lot of you that our financial situation was as bad as it may have seemed at the time of budget, and then unfortunately, I couldn't be here for the two big budget meetings. But in that time, I think somewhere around $1 million worth of capital improvement projects were deferred, you know, based on serious concerns about our future fiscal health and money coming from the state of Illinois. Now, I know 5,000 is not a lot of money, and I would like to hear from Chief Binowitz at some point, you know, as to what his best guess, you know, to what, you know, staff could cost depending on how many people go there. But I'm just afraid of sending a strange signal to our residents. We're toning some things down, holding back on some projects, and then being asked to give money to another community for an event that I'm not sure how many of our residents are really going to go to. So, well, I wish my answer could be different. I have to kind of support the direction I thought the council was going in at budget time, and say I can't support either the 5,000 or the staffing.
Alderman Coles?
Well, last year, we didn't participate in the parade. And the year before that, which was Mayor Giles, when Shirley and I were in the parade, he asked us what we were doing in there. And he put us about 45 in the line. Instead of being up front, we were way in the back. And last year, the mayor and us, and Shirley and I decided not to go into parade. So now with the new mayor, we might change our mind. I would like to change my mind. Anyway, I would like to be in a parade. So I will, if I'm the only one that'll go, I will sponsor Wooddale. Okay?
Mayor Johnson?
Just comment on the staffing, that doesn't necessarily have to be our police officers. My understanding is last year we sent over some of our CERTS volunteers, and they were very appreciative that was primarily what they were looking for, was on the traffic control to block off streets as the parade goes through. So it isn't necessarily an expense item for us.
Anybody else? Do we need a motion here? Do I hear a motion to,
I mean,
Jeff.
this isn't all encompassing. I just need some direction on which of these 4 items we're willing to, do. I mean, we don't need to, it's not all or nothing here.
Mayor Johnson?
I would think at a minimum, if you don't want to give the 5,000, I certainly understand that, but I think we could extend our CERT volunteers, assuming, I think we've already reached out to them, and I think there's already, apparently we have not, but last year, there was an agreement that they would participate, so we could certainly do that. Advertising, they're looking for us to put it on our signboards and in our newsletter and or on our website, and then they would do the same thing for us for Memorial Day, and we would do the same thing on St. Patrick's Day. And if we wanted to offer our train station as a remote lot, I don't know if they're asking us to do the bus services, but certainly staffing and advertising, I think we can cooperate with them on that. They certainly did that for our Prairie Fest. Bensonville and Addison put it up on their message boards and advertised it in their communities.
Alderman Roy Wesley?
Where's our message board? In Bensonville. Oh, that one line? Okay.
Chief Binowitz?
Just with regards to direction here, am I to take that we are limited only to volunteer services and that we're not to incur any additional cost to our operation, or how do you guys want to go on that?
Volunteer.
Okay. I mean, that we can do. That's not a problem. I'm talking about with regards to operational planning for support to them, because with our policy and procedure, it's not just a matter of saying send 2 people over there. We have to develop an operational plan and logistics. So,
Alderman Shockey?
The mayor mentioned advertising in our bi-monthly newsletter. I think the next one would not come out till after the 4th. So we wouldn't be able to help out by using that. And I don't have
Perhaps
any
we could
trouble
do
with,
it in our water bill.
well, that we can do. I don't have any trouble with 2, 3, and 4, but I'm not sure about 1. I agree with Alderman Cadella that we're we're sending separate messages.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
I would make the motion to do 2, 3, and 4. The only stipulation is number 4, are they running the shuttle arrangements, or are we?
I think they were looking for us to facilitate the shuttle, but I can clarify with that.
Clarify that then. I would attain motion 2, 3, and 4. And 4 is that we do not have to provide the shuttle. Because I don't know where we would get the shuttle for unless you co-sponsor this with the school district. If they want to use a parking lot or a train station, I have no problem.
Couldn't we use our vans?
I only got one. I
Yeah,
only
when
got
you-
one van, so.
When you